San Diegans accomplish great things every day. We care about our neighbors and our community. We are proud of our diversity. We are resilient. We hold our leaders accountable. We live in one of the most dynamic cities in America, the San Diego Union-Tribune, telling San Diego's story for more than 150 years.
Hello, I'm Dr. Gail F. Baker, Vice President and Provost at the University of San Diego.
And I'm Dr. Noelle Norton, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences here at USD.
For the second year in a row, USD, along with its College of Arts and Sciences and Humanities Center, is proud to return as the presenting sponsor for the 2021 San Diego Union-Tribune Festival of Books.
As a university deeply committed to the liberal arts, USD promotes a form of lifelong learning that ignites curiosity, builds critical connections across different ideas and topics by seeing them from unique perspectives.
Our partnership with the Festival of Books enables all of us avid readers to come together as a community alongside renowned authors from all over the world and to dive deeply into imaginative stories and important themes.
Yes, books do have the ability to open minds and hearts. On behalf of the University of San Diego, we thank you for joining us for today's program to explore the world of books with us.
Enjoy the presentation.
SDCCU makes getting a great deal on an auto loan easy. Whether you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, you can complete your application online from the convenience of your home and get pre-qualified before you shop. And with rates as low as 1.99% APR and 90 days before you have to make your first payment, getting an auto loan has never been easier. Apply today at sdccu.com. SDCCU. It's not big bank banking, it's better.
Hi everyone, my name is Trevor Jones. I'm a librarian with the San Diego Public Library, and welcome to the San Diego Union-Tribune Festival of Books. Today's panel is true crime and mystery fiction, and joining me are authors Caitlin Rother, acclaimed author of Death on Ocean Boulevard and Inside the Coronado Mansion Case, and Matt Coyle, award-winning author of the Rick Cahill novels with his latest book, Last Redemption. Caitlin and Matt, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So I have some specific questions pertaining to each book, but just kind of trying to bring the two of you together with some responses first. I thought whoever would like to go first. Are you able to tell me a little bit about your research and your inspiration going into either one of these projects? I mean, of course, tell us in a nutshell, no spoilers, what your book is all about. What can we expect? But definitely for true crime and mystery, I definitely thought a shared quality is research. So for readers and other writers, I'm curious to know where the inspiration kind of comes together and what you have to say there. So,
Caitlin, you're the queen of research.
I'll start. Okay. Well, I started this book, the day that this incident hit the news, which was July 13th, 2011. It really started out, it's the Rebecca Zahala death case, which basically for people who might have been living under a rock, she was found hanging naked, bound, and gagged in an outdoor courtyard from an exterior balcony at the historic Spreckles Mansion in Coronado, California. So basically, a very bizarre, strange case. It's gone on for years. The sheriff's department declared it a suicide, and her family says, no, it was definitely a murder. So it has been in the news. There was a civil trial in 2018, and during that trial, the owner's brother, the owner is Jonah Shacknai, his brother is Adam Shacknai. He was the one who called the 911, made the 911 call. He was found responsible in civil court for her death, but he says he was wrongly convicted and still is trying to prove his innocence and clear his name. So there's a lot of debate. A lot of people think it was a murder. The authorities are still saying suicide. So it continues today. There's another lawsuit that's still pending in court. So it's my research is actually continuing because the case isn't even over yet. So
that's really interesting, and how research just goes on and on, especially when it comes to
yes.
true crime. Matt, how about yourself? Can you tell us a little bit about this novel and kind of research where it plays into fiction?
Sure. First of all, I want to say that Death on Ocean Boulevard is a great book, and Caitlin's a great true crime writer.
Oh, thank you.
So I'd say, yeah. And I don't want any U2s later. Sort of taking over for Anne Rule, in my opinion. Anyway.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I write a Private Eye, and Last Redemption, which comes out in November, is the 8th book in the series. So there's a lot of backstory, obviously, up and down with this guy. You can't read it as a standalone. I'm always happy when reviews come out for every book that says you can read as a standalone. This particular book is a standalone because there's a lot of baggage this character Rick Cahill carries. In this book, he's in a completely different place than he's been in a long time. He's in a happy, committed relationship, which for him is pretty hard to believe. But he's kind of, because of that, and this is on the first page, so it's not really a spoiler, his girlfriend is pregnant. They're going to get married, and she's pregnant. And so he's in his early 40s. She's just a year younger than him. And his wife had been murdered almost 20 years before. And he thought he's never going to have kids. He's never probably going to be in a successful relationship again. And his girlfriend, Leah, had a couple of miscarriages when she was in an earlier marriage. So neither one of them really expected they're going to be parents. And so this is on the horizon. It's kind of a good time, exciting time for Rick. But because he's in this relationship and he's going to be a father, he's sort of scaled back the kind of cases he normally takes as an investigator. He's just doing background checks for big corporations, and it's paying him okay, so he can handle it. But in this book, he gets a call from a friend, and I wanted to kind of tie in the subplot. I wanted to tie in the familial aspect because of Rick's pending fatherhood, and his sometime partner, Moira McFarlane's son, has gotten entangled in a situation with his girlfriend, and she asks Rick to follow him, surveil him. Just to make sure he's not breaking the temporary restraining order that's been put on him. And as happens in most PI books, and certainly in mine, that expands into something much bigger, which ends up having to do with DNA research and the biotech industry in San Diego. For that, I had to do some research. I'm a proponent of research. I just don't like doing it that much, although I don't mind getting stuck down a rabbit hole to waste a half a day of writing. But when you're writing mystery fiction, you just want to you need to get kind of a big circle when you're researching, and then you got to whittle it down to just the important things that give your book some truth. I can't say that word. And so I had to investigate the biotech industry a little bit, and it's fascinating. The idea of this is that there's potential for a DNA test that can tell people they're going to have cancer and what kind of cancer it would be, and all the ramifications with that, which would happen with throughout the medical industry. And luckily, my publishers both have a background in pharmaceuticals, and one is a doctor. So they helped me a lot, actually, with my research. Basically, what I did is I wrote some stuff. I did research online, of course, wrote a bunch of stuff, and I sent it to them. I go, hey, how's this? So I was pretty close on most of it. So I was happy about that.
Wow. Gosh. So I want to come back to that. And I think now we kind of touch on the biotech. So both of these books are just utterly perfect, I think, for the San Diego Union-Tribune Festival books, because they're very San Diego. They're very Southern California. Caitlin, your book is a focus on this very famous case that brought a lot of exposure to Coronado. Specific, for San Diegans, we know Coronado as this place. Maybe for readers beyond that need some delving into. And Matt, your book brings out some of that mystique of like our region's biotech into Rick Cahill's world. What should San Diego readers know before like picking up these books, or what do you think is kind of there? I know Matt, like your book has a lot of street names that for me, I'm like, I right away like, oh, I know where that is, and it's this like sense of place. So and then conversely, anything non-San Diego readers should maybe know that you can kind of bring to bear. whoever, Matt, you want to take it first?
Sure. I would say, this is actually the second book that's had the main focus, the main plot has had something to do with the biotech industry that I've written. I think it was my other one was my fourth or fifth book. And really up until then, a brother of a friend of mine was in the biotech industry, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. But, it's a big part of San Diego's economy.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I got into it, the more interesting it became to me. But I think if you're not from San Diego, even, it's nice to read the street names for sure. I always put those in, and then I always have to go back and check because sometimes you think, that's exactly where that is. And then you go, ooh, I was wrong. So, but I always try throughout my books, I try to kind of touch on different parts of San Diego, and some of them have been very iconic, like the Cross, Windansea Beach, other places. But it wasn't really an iconic spot in The Last Redemption, so I just touched a few areas, nice areas like Encinitas, Carlsbad, Solana Beach. So they get a little feel of the different communities of San Diego. So that'd be something I think they could enjoy, hopefully.
So, and for me, Coronado is really a small, very small town. I mean, it's supposedly got 24,000 residents, but I'm not even sure if that's counting the tourists that come in the summer. Jonah Shacknai, who bought the Spreckles Mansion way before this incident happened, bought it because it was a historic place. It was built in 1908 by the famous sugar heir, John D. Spreckles, who basically owned all of Coronado. He pretty much owned all the property. He built the Spreckles Theater was named after him. A lot of downtown San Diego, I think he also had a big part in. He was just this huge businessman. His family was the richest family in California. He was the richest man in the county at this time in 1908. So that's an interesting thing about, the house. It was, they call it a mansion, but as the sheriff said to me, it's not like you would think of the kind of mansion in Hollywood, which is glitzy and ostentatious and well-maintained. It was a very old house. There was mold around the bathtubs. That's what Sheriff Corr said to me. I haven't actually been inside. It's been renovated several times. It's being renovated again right now. But anyway, what I wanted to say, though, about what readers should know about the book and the case that I've written about is that there was a lot of misinformation, speculation, conjecture, both, especially nationally. There have been a lot of documentaries. There's been a lot of media coverage. There's been a lot of debate online on various true crime forums where armchair detectives want to hop in and try to solve the case and talk about evidence. But the sheriff's department really did not release very much information at all, because they said it was to protect the privacy of the Zahala family, but the Zahala family actually felt like they didn't even know what they needed to know. And so when they filed this civil suit in 2013, it was based on what little they knew, and that those theories changed even during the trial in 2018. So my goal in writing this book was to really get the real facts out there. What was the real evidence? And some of these theories that are out there, may not make as much sense once you realize the actual forensic evidence, which I go into in great detail. But I do lay out the various theories, such as, there was a little boy who died within 2 days of Rebecca's death, and it's a long and involved story. But you have to look at those two deaths together. They are definitely intricately related, in fact, potentially mutually causal. And so there's a lot of backstory, a lot of information that I've introduced for the first time in this book about all the characters that nobody knew before, especially about Rebecca Zahala. So I think the book is, I wanted it to be eye-opening. It's been very surprising for a lot of people. I've had a lot of readers say I've gone back and forth numerous times, whether it was a suicide or a murder, So that's what I think people should know, and be ready for a roller coaster ride.
Wow. Yeah, what do for police investigators, they say, well, we have to go where the evidence takes us. And if you're someone on Reddit, you may not know all the evidence.
Exactly.
So you're not going to go anywhere. So that's really fascinating, and that's a testament to the book, bringing out all those details, which helps me segue to my next question. So Caitlin, again, this one was for you, and then Matt, I got another one for you after that. So this book's very detailed. It was actually kind of almost overwhelming. True crime books, podcasts, documentaries, they're very hot right now. And so what do you think, like, for a season? I mean, it's a real case, right? It's about real human beings. This actually happened. But we also know, for true crime fans, that is part of the appeal. And what do you think, like, seasoned true crime folks can see with this case that makes it stand out? I know I read an interview before where you said things just don't add up. In a sense with this story. And can you kind of expand on that? I mean, there's so many ins and outs, and I think I'm just like that person you described. I went back and forth as I read the book, thinking it was suicide, then thinking it was. So can you just maybe expand on some of those themes?
There's a lot there, and there's a lot in that question. So I'll try to figure out a place to start. Unanswered questions, a lot of conflicting information, holes in the evidence that don't make sense to me. I did not take a position on this case, whether it was murder or suicide, because for me personally, knowing everything that I know and looking at this case, I have the entire sheriff's investigative file, which I got from sources. I was at a luncheon the other day at the Coronado Rotary Club. They're like, was that legal? I'm like, yes, it was legal. Didn't steal the file, didn't get it in any kind of wrong way. But I do have inside information that was not released to the public and did not come out in court. And so I was able to really see what was new. And also I could go deeper. And I did interviews, to supplement that. I also had the witness interviews that the detectives did, and I was able to then compare those to interviews I did myself. So, for example, Jonah Shacknai was interviewed twice in the first week of this incident happening, the day of and a few days later. And he initially said he didn't think that Rebecca would have committed suicide and that it wasn't something she would do to him, because his little boy, just very briefly, had fallen from an interior staircase and was in the ICU with severe head injuries. And Rebecca was his support system. And he said, she was such a considerate person. I can't believe she would have done this while I needed so much support. I mean, I was in the hospital with my son, and she loved him and he loved her. But forensically, there's a lot of unanswered questions, which led me to take only one position in this book, and that is that this was a staged scene. It was either a suicide staged to look like a homicide, or it was a homicide staged to look like a suicide. And that's because I can't be 100% convinced, or even 90% convinced, frankly, that it was either one, because there are so many unanswered questions, things that don't make sense. I'll just throw out a couple. The experts for the Zahala testified, they thought she was manually strangled. There were 2 ligature marks on her neck, not just one, but 2, those purple marks where the rope went. And she went over a balcony and was hanging supposedly 9 feet 2 inches that she fell. Why was she not partially or completely decapitated? Why were only these cartilages fractured in her neck, not, broken? Why didn't she have more severe injuries? It didn't really match what supposedly happened. She also had 4 bruises on her head, which the experts on the Zahala side said they looked like she had been hit over the head. There was this mysterious note on the door, which is written in the third person in an angry, taunting tone. She saved him. Can you save her? No punctuation. I mean, and nobody can say what that really means. Is it a suicide note? Why was it written in the third person? So there's just so many of these questions, and some of them we'll never have answers for, because she's gone. And there's a lot of people in this case who have agendas and reputations to protect. And I still believe, there's some secrets, because either way, suicide or murder, why was she tied up like that? Why would she tie herself up like that? And why would someone else tie her up like that specifically? Because it's demeaning, and she was naked, so just highly unusual and highly suspicious.
Just more and more disturbing the more,
Yes, very much so.
Well, thank you. For Matt, pivoting to Matt, for fans of Rick Cahill, where does this latest entry in the series kind of leave us? If you can get into that without, spoiling the story, of course. And for folks who aren't familiar with Private Detective Rick Cahill, I think you touched on it does work as a standalone. Do you set out to kind of write it that way, or what do you grapple with as you work between standalone and working within the confines of a series? And just tell us more about this complex character you've created.
Sure. He's a former cop in Santa Barbara. He's from San Diego, but he was a cop in Santa Barbara. Now it's probably been about 18 years, maybe. He was only a cop for a couple of years. His wife was murdered while he was on the job. He was arrested for her murder, never tried, but never exonerated. Still, for many years, thought to be a guy who got away with murder. His father, he went back to San Diego, his hometown, and ended up working in a restaurant from his best friend, the only guy who'd give him a job at that time because he was tainted. His father, before him in San Diego, worked for the fictional La Jolla Police Department, and he'd had a similar demise where he was kicked off the force, thought to be connected to the mob. Both questions are answered in earlier books. So he's got this dark cloud that follows him. He's in this book. You asked about the standalone in a series. It's the thing I grapple with most in each book. How much to tell to new readers without ruining it for them if they're going to read this book first and then go back and read the earlier books, and you don't want to bore your continuing readers. So that is a delicate balance. Like I said earlier, I'm always happy when a reviewer says you can read it as a standalone. This particular book, once again, not a spoiler, it's on the first page. Well, I'll backtrack a second. What I wanted to do when I started this series, before I even knew I was writing a series long ago, is I wanted this guy to feel pain. I wanted everything that he did to have consequences, whether it was emotional or physical. And that's the carryover in the series, that there is, everything reverberates, everything echoes, going back to the first book. So now, all these years in, he's been a private. He was a cop before. He played college football. He played high school football. He played Pop Warner. He was in Golden Gloves. So he's a very physical guy. There's a lot of violence in his life. And like I said, everything adds up. And he's had concussions as a private investigator. So when this book opens, we find out that he has CTE, the pro football disease. And I gotta read it because I always mess up the last word, what it means.
Encephalitis?
Close.
Is that it? No.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
That was close. So he's got that. He's holding it back from his girlfriend. And so this is the residual of all these things that have happened to him. I figured I had to take him there. This is life. This is what may happen. So he's dealing with that. At the same time, he's having the best news he's ever had in his life. He's going to be a father. So I have those two things working. And then, like I said, he's helping his friend deal with the situation with their son. So there's a lot of family stuff interwoven here, and interwoven in past tense. And so Rick's grappling with that, and he's seeing a side of his very tough sidekick, Moira. Actually, he feels like he's a sidekick to her. Moira McFarlane, who's the PI he works with sometimes, who's smart, tough, and he's seeing how having her son in a tough situation, a dangerous situation, it turns out, the effects it has on her. And he extrapolates some of this out to his own life. Will he even be there for his daughter when she reaches a certain age? So it's kind of a family thing. You can hopefully read it. Of course, this book is not out yet, but I've had a couple early reviews, and I haven't had anybody complain about it series-wise. But I think you can read it as standalone. But it is sort of it's a culmination of things I didn't have in my mind in terms of physical when I started this book. Every action matters for this guy. It always comes back. That was what I wanted to have. But the idea of where he is now and being somewhat incapacitated and having really a death sentence is a very uplifting book. It's not something I really anticipated so long ago.
Well, let me just say,
wow.
I feel like he comes to life on the page, and it makes me want to. This was my first foray into Rick Cahill here with this title. I feel very privileged to have gotten the advance copy. So for readers, it's like I'm going to go back and check it out. Well, I didn't have this in the notes there, but I guess since we have a little bit of time, I did want to ask you both, whoever wants to go first, kind of the idea of how neither work is finished in a sense. Caitlin, do you see a follow-up to this in so many ways? And for Matt, where's the series? Do you kind of have that planned out. So, Caitlin, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, this lawsuit is still pending. I'm not sure where it's going to go. It's basically the Zahalas have now sued the sheriff's department, and they're trying to get public records, trying to get more evidence to show that there was something wrong with the investigation. There's been quite a bit of criticism about the investigation being flawed, not going in all the directions that it should have or could have, and maybe now it can't, because there's certain things the train's left the station, but they still believe that Adam Shacknai did kill Rebecca, and they want to prove that and have the criminal case reopened. So that's their goal. I don't know if this lawsuit is going to work or not, but if it does, and they are able to get any records, again, I don't know what they'll find, but it's not over. And I'm still, I am actually still receiving information. This is what happens. This is what's very frustrating to me is I'll work 9 years on a book, and then I'll start getting emails from people who are like, hey, I have all these documents. I have all this information. You didn't know this, did you? And I'm like, oh, come on, where were you? Like last year. So yeah, I definitely have updated previous books. I think there will probably be some updates coming to this one as well. It just came out. So, I hope that this case is reopened, because I do feel like I think everybody wants some closure on this, the family in particular.
Wow.
Caitlin's writing a series and she didn't know she would in the beginning. 2 crime series in one case.
Yeah, really. And there's some other things that I can't talk about right now, but hopefully there will be some updates of other kinds as well.
Well, we'll look out for those.
Yeah.
So Matt, how about you? New series, working on this one still? More standalones?
It's called Last Redemption, but I do have to say that I did sign on for 9 and 10. So I'm writing book 9 of Rick Cahill series. Don't have a title because I never do at this point. Sometimes they come to me after I've written the book. Sometimes they come to me when I've sent the book in with a bad title and the publisher says we need a better title. And then hopefully it'll come to me, but don't have a title. But once again, Rick's he's in a different place. But yeah, I at some point I'm going to write a standalone, and I thought I was going to do it after this book. And then I love writing Rick Cahill. It took me 10 years to get published. I've been writing this guy for almost 20 years now. So I can't imagine not writing him, but there's certain things in the fiction side of publishing in terms of getting to the next level and not being able to really write a new series continuing series for a new publisher, things like that. Things I've talked with my publisher about. So at some point I will write a standalone and maybe a different series, but I cannot imagine not writing this guy at some point. Even though his days may be numbered here. So apparently.
I have actually a couple things that I'm working on that have nothing to do with this case. If I can do that and kind of chime in here. This is really kind of coincidental, but Matt and I went to the same high school. I don't know if you knew that. Not at the same time. I was in the same class as his sister. Right. So La Jolla High School is a great place, produces authors like us. Good education. But I too have a crime novel that I published called Naked Addiction, and I'm currently working on a sequel and to get that published. And I don't know if this is coincidence or not, probably not, because San Diego does have a thriving biotech industry. Mine is also a biotech theme. I didn't know that about Matt's book. So before, I've been working on this book for many, many years. So just in case anyone might think otherwise. So that's exciting. And I'm also I've been working just as long on this book here and there on the McStay case, the family of 4 with the 2 little boys, 3 and 4 years old, who went mysteriously missing from their house in Fallbrook. Also in 2010, yes. There was a death penalty trial finally where there was a conviction with the father of the family's business partner. But there's a lot about this case that I think still has not really come out. There's no book by any published, professional author on it. And I really think it deserves a full, comprehensive, authoritative deep dive into that as well. And coincidentally, same sheriff's department, San Diego Sheriff's Department, worked on that for the first few years, and then it ended up being picked up by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department once their bodies were found in the desert. So anyway, I don't want to say too much. It's a well-known case, but those two things I am working on. And I also wanted to say that Matt is also a great author and award-winning author. I don't care whether he said no Me Too's or not.
Thank you. That's one question, Caitlin. I don't know how we are in time. So you can cut it if we don't have time. But I watch true crime all the time, and the older I get, the more it affects me. I realize. I mean, I do it for research in some ways and ideas, but the pain of the victims and the ones left behind really starts to affect me much deeper than it used to. Does that happen to you when you're digging into this research and reading about it?
Yeah. I actually was really excited to get a different book contract on the San Diego Zoo's Frozen Zoo, which I was working on. And unfortunately, I worked on it for a whole year, and it was really interesting about trying to save the planet, and species. And it was fascinating. And then unfortunately, COVID hit. The contract was canceled. I'm hoping to get that picked up again. But it was nice to have a break from the death and the murder and the suicide and so definitely. I can't even watch much true crime on TV because, I'm kind of I'm in it all the time. I want a break. People are like, have you seen this? I'm like, no. So
there's a lot of it.
Yeah, there is a lot of it. I mean, more and more. Yeah. There's a lot of violence in our society, too much violence in our society, which is why, even in my true crime books, I keep the gore to zero as much as possible. What few graphic details are absolutely have to be told, but otherwise it's all psychological because I don't want to write a book I don't want to read.
Right.
Yeah. Wise words.
Thank you.
Well,
all around.
Thanks to both of you for being here with me.
It's great. Yeah, thank you.
A lot for readers at the Public Library, San Diego Public Library, and readers at the Union-Tribune Book Festival to look out for. We've got Caitlin Rother, Death on Ocean Boulevard, Matt Coyle, Last Redemption, a Rick Cahill novel. Thank you both so much for joining me. For folks watching, you can purchase the author's books from our indie bookseller partners. That's at bookshop.org. And I think you can read it below /shop/SDFOB. Also, I need to mention, please consider supporting the San Diego Council on Literacy by visiting literacysandiego.org. Tremendous work they're doing there. You can continue to join us for a full program of author panels, exciting demonstrations, and live entertainment streamed entirely online. All videos will be available on sdfestivalofbooks.com. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, I'm Trevor Jones. I'm a librarian with the San Diego Public Library. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jose Cruz. I'm the CEO for the San Diego Council on Literacy. We work with a network of 29 youth, adult, and family literacy programs that annually serve 160,000 residents of all ages at no cost. Our mission is to unite the community to support literacy. It's an exciting year for us. It's our 35th anniversary. It's also the 5th anniversary of the San Diego Union-Tribune Festival of Books. The San Diego Council on Literacy is a beneficiary of this event. So when you participate, you support literacy, especially through the author panels and just in general. So when you participate in this event, you also make it possible for another person, a child or an adult, to improve their reading and writing skills so they can read the books that you read. We have our favorite event activities. We like the Storytime Hour, and you probably have your favorites too. So we hope that you'll join us at the San Diego Union-Tribune Festival of Books and learn more too about the work of the San Diego Council on Literacy by going to literacysandiego.org. Thank you.